beautiful soul, and welcome to another episode of Intuitive Creator Spotlight. I am Stella, your host, and today I have here with me Patience. She is a beautiful, beautiful soul. She is dedicated to empowering introverted women to embrace their full potential and achieve holistic wealth. Welcome, Patience. I'm super happy to have you here today.
I'm super excited to be here today, Stella, and it's nice to connect with you again.
I just want to ask you, why did you choose to work with introverted women specifically?
Yeah, I think it's about thinking about myself as an introvert. For example, I call myself, I say, AKA the visionary introverted woman. And that was a way of me owning my identity. And I know a lot of people were like at the time, why introvert? Some people were like, oh, I'm not an introvert. If I describe myself, it's an issue. I don't like describing myself in that way. And I'm like, well, I think my lived experience as an introvert and the things that I've had to go through and overcome, they will benefit somebody. So if I put up my hand and I go, I'm an introvert, and these are the things that I have done in my life that have made a difference, it will help somebody. And I'll have to say that the biggest part of it, before we came on screen, we were talking about being intuitive. And
Mhm.
I reconnected back to my younger self, my 9-year-old self. And that 9-year-old girl was trying to figure out her purpose in the world. But one of the things she was unapologetic about was living out her purpose as herself, who she is, and how God created her to be. And for me, I believe that as an introvert, I bring a different flavor to the world. And I don't want people to think that if you don't have a different personality to being an introvert, that means that you don't fit into the stereotype of what it means to be successful, what it means to make an impact, what it means to live a purposeful life. And so that was what encouraged me to say, I'm going to take all the lived experience I had, especially in the corporate space, bring them
Mhm.
into the business world, but also I can help people, whether they're in corporate or whether they're in business, to navigate life as introverts with the things that I have learned. I never like to waste my life or my challenges.
Wow, that's really interesting. And what an inspiration to choose to embrace this path fully and to make the most out of it and really, really enjoy every single chapter of your life as an introvert. So I know you mentioned about connecting with the younger version of yourself when you were 9 years old. Can you share with us some of the moments that started to kind of tell you or send you the signs that you may be an introvert?
Hmm. Yeah, I think interestingly, I used to find a corner of the house. And I used to use the picture of that corner in in my speeches when I first started speaking, because it's a corner of the house that has an electric pole. And that electric pole was a television pole. And I used to say, I wonder how I never got electrocuted, because that was my favorite space. And I didn't think it was the safest space to be sitting down. But I love to sit down there. I just love to observe the world and be quiet. The other thing I used to do was, after a while, I'm one of 8 children. So, or basically a family of 10 already.
Yeah.
And so I always felt this sense of being choked. So I would look for a time when everybody was away. I'll lock myself up in a room and just be quiet. Or I'll go into the room and go into myself and be daydreaming and things like that. And so I didn't know what the word introvert meant, but it just meant that I love to just sit and watch people. And
Mhm. Mhm.
interestingly, I would sit and listen and not talk. And maybe they will say a joke. When I was in school, they would say a joke and people would have finished laughing. Then they would hear somebody from the back laughing, and it would be me. I'm just really taking time to understand the joke and it's making me laugh. So I used to think, so people would be like, Patience, you're laughing again when everybody has stopped laughing. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, that's true. What's wrong with me? Why didn't I find it funny enough when they were laughing? And in the university, I remember somebody uh stopping me one day and going, Patience, what's in your room? I was like, what do you mean? He said, as soon as class is over, you put your head down and you're in a hurry to get to your room. So I looked at him and I thought, for starters, you are not in my room, which is a good thing. But also, I don't know. I just like my room. I just feel
Mm,
like I've had enough and I want to go stay there and sit there. So it wasn't until maybe my late 20s to 30s that I heard the word introvert.
mm,
What was interesting was as soon as I heard the word and I understood the meaning, rather than feel, oh, what a calamity, I felt, how exciting. I just thought to myself, there are people like me in the world. Otherwise, nobody would define it because I used to think, who can define me
mm,
if I'm confused about who I am? But when I read it and I thought, yeah, somebody's defined it, which means there are a lot of people like me in the world for that there to be a definition. But I also resonate with this definition. So the next thing is, how do I own this definition as a person? How do I start really stop? Because up to that point, I was apologizing for myself internally, like, oh, I'm so sorry, I'm not talking a lot. I'm so sorry, I have to think more. I'm so sorry. But now I started to think, no, I need space. So if you, if you don't take away my quiet space, I need it, you know. So I
mm.
started to give myself permission to be more and more myself as a result of knowing that I'm an introvert.
So was that the moment when you decided that you're going to use everything you have within this notion of being an introvert and make the most out of everything? Was that the moment, or was there a different moment when you decided you're going to amplify everything that's beautiful in your life by being an introvert?
I think that was the starting point. The next thing was but it was just the beginning because as soon as I realized that and I thought, oh, it's going to be easy to do, that was a surface decision. Internally, I had self-loathing and hatred and things. And I lacked a lot of confidence at the time. So, but fortunately for me, that was my first experience of getting coaching. I asked for coaching, I asked for training, and I thought, how powerful is this coaching thing? Because one
Mm,
of the things I asked during the first day of the coaching session, the lady said to me, she said, okay, what's your objective? What would you like to achieve at the end of these 12 weeks? And I said to her, I just really want to know who Patience is. And she looked at me and was like, God, nobody has ever asked that kind of question. She
mm,
said, how am I going to tell you who you are? Then she actually paused and said, actually, that's a good thing because then you can engage with this as a discovery journey. Because I can't tell you who you are, but hopefully through this process you figure out who you are.
mm,
And indeed, I had already had training where the lady said, if you're going to make if you I was saying, oh, people didn't like me. People don't involve me. My managers seem to not provide me with opportunities. You know, I gave all these complaints and she was an NLP coach. And she
mhm,
said, and she looked at me and said, Patience, so what are you going to do about it?
mhm,
I thought you give me the answer. You know, you give me a tick box and a checklist. But she made me realize that it wasn't about those people. If Patience did not accept Patience, she was actually sending that out into the universe and attracting the rejection. So unless Patience accepts Patience, then she can portray something that will attract other people. And that was the kind of turning point that made me go out and start to listen to how I was talking to myself from the inside, look at how I was actually putting on a mask and trying to be who I was not. And I courageously started to peel back those layers. Who is Patience? What does she want? How does she operate? She laughs out loud, but that's okay. You know, so many things. I started to say okay, and I started to permit myself gradually. I'm not talking about a quick turnaround. I'm talking about years and years of peeling back different layers, but I think the key message here is that I took responsibility to to not say, oh, they made me like this. My circumstance was this. My parents didn't do this. I stopped saying that and I started saying, how can I take control of my own life. What's within my control? What's within my agency and my sphere of influencing myself to make a difference? And it's from there I realized that I actually underinvest in my potential, whether
Mhm.
it's be through reading. So I didn't start investing lots of money in myself. I just read books because I thought if there's something to find out in me, if a book attracts me and is trying to speak to me to bring out that thing, I'm going to invest in that book. So I started reading more and more development books, mindset books, life-changing books.
Mm. And then step by step, you continued this journey. And I know that now you help so many beautiful women understand themselves better. And it's amazing how you described that you really wanted to discover yourself. All you
Mhm.
wanted was to discover yourself and not to create certain types of big goals to achieve in 12 weeks. And actually, this is something I talked about recently, that sometimes your goals are not measurable. They are
Mm,
not always measurable. Sometimes you heal something, you overcome a fear, you go through some, you understand some emotions, but that thing can unlock so many more things in all the other areas of our lives, which is super precious. And if we can see that and be grateful for that, what a beautiful thing we create for our life and other people's lives too. So let
mm.
me ask you this, who is Patience?
Well, I see patience as someone who is a visionary.
Mhm,
I see patience as someone whose purpose is to live well. So I have a purpose statement that I use all the time, and it is to live and to leave a life of legacy for future generations and to help other women to do the same. And in the process, helping them to understand and achieve holistic success. So the concept of holistic success became more clearer to me more recently when I think about the 360 degrees. Is it family? And my core values are really family, faith, freedom, in brackets, fun,
mhm,
integrity. For business, it's integrity, excellence, and empowerment. Those are the things that I feel like are the core of everything that I do. Um, so patience is loves to laugh, uh, enjoys romantic stuff, very romantic. I'm a feeler. I'm highly sensitive. And I'm wired differently. I'm wired to see things from an intuitive point of view, from a bigger picture point of view. And personally, I'm an encourager and an advisor and love to think strategically. Fortunately for me, having done all the training I've done, I can also bring it back when necessary to the detail of it. But that's me in a nutshell, I guess. Other elements of me, I'm a mother, I'm a sister. I love to be a friend. I love to connect deeply. So I love deep connections with a few people, rather than a whole bunch of people that I cannot even remember their names. So
Would you say that this is usually happening for introverts? They prefer to have smaller circles rather than big circles?
yeah, I think smaller circles are preferable because of
Mhm,
stimulus. I think human connections, interactions are quite stimulating. People bring different energies into those environments. And one thing about introverts is that we get overstimulated by people's energy, even when they are not talking, just their presence. You don't know why, it just can get too much. When too many people, you're like, oh, I've lost myself here. So
mm,
I think for most introverts, they don't know why, but it's just how it works. Like, and sometimes you can have it in small doses where you have lots of people, but after a while, it's like, I just need to get away and I don't know why. I just need to get away. I stop hearing my own self think. My brain is full. So I think for most introverts, yes, I think that's what I find that they all say, needing solitude, having a few friends where they can have deep conversations. And I think with a few friends, you can control how people ask for your time, you know,
mhm.
and how much time you can then give quality time to people. So,
So if you were to remember or to think about a situation where, say, for example, you celebrate something, you are in a room of people, and if you feel at some point as an introvert that you need your space, how do you navigate through a situation like this?
Mm. It's an interesting one because I'll give you one big one that I used to struggle with. So I'm part of the Maxwell leadership team, which is now a team of 50,000. When I first started,
Wow.
we were only 4,000 or 5,000 people as members. And even with that, we will come for the conference and we'll be like over almost 2,000 people in the room and everything. And I think in the beginning, people were like, oh, when you want to go, who wants to share a room and everything? And I was like, let me go first and see how I feel. And the thing is, after each session, I really did not even anybody's voice just jarring to me. It's like so I was so grateful. Like, I don't have to open the door to my room and know that I have to talk to another person. I just close the door and I can decompress ready for the next day. And I was thinking, if I didn't have that space, the
Mm,
next day would be unbearable. It will really be unbearable because it's just 2,000 people around you in the room, and you're talking to loads of people, you're sitting around tables, having conversations and everything. And you're doing this for hours on end, for 3 hours on end. So it's like um I had to really realized from then on that having a way to get away, to quiet myself, to recover, to recharge. So it's gradually moved on to, okay, now I need to not only quiet, but how do I recharge? You know, it's one thing to be away from people, but your brain is still full and you're still, how do you recharge so that you get back and be energized? So those are some things that, I love to do and everything. But obviously, when you start doing that, it's like, oh, she doesn't like to share places. She doesn't like to talk to people. She keeps to herself and all that. And I'm thinking, I can't take another word. I can't, so it is what it is. When even my own husband, when I've had a lot of Zoom calls and my husband walks through the door, hi, honey, is really jarring for me. I'm like, don't talk. Don't just have your meal and have a quiet time. I don't want to know. So it's just what it is. You can be misunderstood as a result, but
mhm,
you've got to be comfortable with the fact that you're doing it for a reason. And some people are not doing it for a reason. Some people have gotten too comfortable with not being around people.
mm,
And it depends on how it impacts your ability to achieve your dreams and your goals. And
mm.
you've got to learn adaptability because we are created as human beings to need each other anyway.
Yes, absolutely. To learn from each other, to go with each other through
Yeah.
life. Well, and then I'm super grateful you share these stories because then when you think about how important it is to know yourself, to know how you can be at your best, and then for others to understand that too. Then, like with the example of your husband, I'm sure that he knows that once you feel recharged, he will have your full attention because it's that you want to be there present and as someone who has so much desire to grow and serve and you have so much wisdom patience every time I see your post or I have a conversation with you I can feel that from you so it's just it what's good for you is good for everybody right you
Not
just
really, but everybody needs to find what's really good for you, what's really right for you. Before we came on board, we're talking about the business model and the business structure. And sometimes for some people, it's like a straightforward model. Sometimes it's like a hybrid. And sometimes you come back and it's interesting. I know a popular introvert guy in the marketing space and he used to have loads and loads of teams and all that stuff. And I listened to a podcast that he was a guest recently, and he said, "I'm now freelance. I don't have staff. I don't have anybody. I'm just on my own." And I was like, "There you go."
Yes,
You
that's the
know,
truth.
he's changed, and he was like, that works for me. I don't want the crowds. And that's what I'm saying, that at some point, what is in your core will come out. And this guy, he obviously is an introvert to the core. And as he got older, he values his space to to really create impact. And he's still making impact. He just
Mhm,
decided that the way other people are doing it is different. So what
mhm,
works for me will not work for everybody. And this is something that I want us to actually emphasize, myself and yourself, Stella, because we've had to pivot our businesses and do different things to make things work for us. And
mhm.
I remember thinking, because these people are doing these things, I too can do it. I can, me too, I can do it. And then after, but now I'm asking myself, it's not about me too, it's about really what is aligned to who I am, what's
Mhm.
aligned to my strength, what is really what I want to do and where I want to go.
Mhm. Yeah, I was referring more to, when you, for example, have your own business and you create some things, experiences, events, courses. It's about what you shared, like really being honest with yourself and your values. And then within that space, I had to give myself the permission to say, what is good for me in my business will be also good for those people who will resonate with my business.
Mm,
And in that sense,
yes.
because then I don't have to force myself to apply a model that doesn't resonate with me. So that's the only area where I do apply this kind of thought that what's good for me in my business will be good for those people who understand me and my personality. But
Okay.
they are 100% with you that we are here to learn from each other, to absorb different kinds of information, to learn different models. But then you have to take the time to process that through your values and beliefs and
Mm,
energy, and then move forward with your decision. And so I know that you have embraced business coaching. Why is this something that excites you so much and you're passionate about?
mm. Yeah, I think initially I was like, oh, I'm just going to do transformation and talk to people about transforming, which I still do. But becoming an entrepreneur is a form of transformation as well, especially if you been an employee and if you've worked in a space where you didn't feel that your potential was fully expressed. But you also knew that there was this yearning in you to take control of your life, to be the one in the driver's seat. And I know that not everybody is like that, but I didn't know that then. It was like, even from the beginning, I wanted to be entrepreneurial. So working with people and women, when they're going on that transformational journey, they're saying things to me like, oh, yeah, I really don't know if my job fits anymore. I would really love to do something different and do something with my life and be more entrepreneurial or something. And then I started to think, well, I've got experience here that I can also then use. I've got some knowledge that I can also then use. And gradually, I wanted people to be more empowered to then create their own pathway to success and their own freedom. That's when I started taking on looking more at business coaching and helping people build their dream through business and whichever way they feel that that would look like. Um, yeah, so that's what interested me to move into business coaching. And then I think in 2020, I started to realize that aside from business, there is an element of being a leader of your life and leading, and business and things involves leading others. So I started to talk about business and leadership coaching. So I do a lot of that, mixture of business and leadership coaching now.
And I know that you work with introverted women in business and you guide them through this journey. Now, knowing their struggles and the struggles that you've been through,
Mm,
to those of to those who are watching our video at the moment, at the interview, if they think, you know what, actually, I think I'm an introverted person, and I also have a business, or I want to have a business, and I want to start looking at ways of understanding myself better and navigate through various challenges. What kind of suggestion or advice would you give them? Where should they start from, or where they can start from in
Mm,
this journey?
yeah, that's a great question because in my own frameworks and things where I talk about alignment, I've come to realize that there was something that drew me to the way that I set things up, which is identity first before idea.
Mm,
So what I will say is when you're saying, oh, I'm an introvert or I'm an extrovert or I don't even know my personality, which some people don't. They don't know where they fit, and they don't know which is their real core preference, so to speak. Um, what you have to then ask yourself is, who am I, and how will my who help me to achieve my what? That's the question. And that allows you to, it's like I say to people, it's like saying, I want to put the horse before the cat. But what
mm,
people do is if you jump into the business idea first, which sometimes you figure it out later on, it's not a problem. But if you were to say, if I were to give a process, I would say, put the horse before the cat. Let the horse, which is you, understand their strengths, understand their capability, understand how they move, how many distances they can go, then attach the cat to it, which is the business. Yeah. And then you have a better process of doing things. But if you've got it wrong and you've kind of like, oh, I've done the ideas and now it doesn't fit, you can go back and reverse engineer back to yourself.
mm.
And it always just starts from there. It really makes a difference in a sense.
Wow, identity and then idea. Oh,
Mm,
this is so, so important because then you choose what kind of lifestyle you want to have, and then your business kind of comes along with that. And then that's how everybody in your business will have the best
mm.
of you because you'll be passionate, you will not feel like resentment towards anything and any ideas too. Thank you so much for bringing this into the conversation. And something that I just felt like asking as you were talking, and you mentioned extroverts. If if an extrovert would come to you and say, "Patience, I really need your help," knowing that you present yourself as a coach who works with introverted people, what would you say? Would you accept, or no?
I'll be very excited about it because I think that person is very how do I call it? I don't check when I looking for my own coach. I don't necessarily always check and go, are they introverted and extroverted? Because for me, I kind of like go, if they're introverted, they will get me. But if they're extroverted, they might help me step out of my shell.
Mm,
So an extrovert coming to me, there's something that is drawing them. There's
mm,
something that is making them say, perhaps I just need to slow down a bit, and I wouldn't know how to do it with an extroverted coach. I need an introvert to help me give myself that permission. And so it will be exciting because I don't work with people and just on the basis of one thing. I kind of look at that person. I'm there to help you reveal yourself to yourself. So, and some people, I have sat with people who have come to tears because they have said, "Oh my God, I'm not an extrovert and I've been trying to be one. And just talking to you has made me realize." So on the surface, they came to me neutral, thinking, okay, maybe she can help me, and they're having this conversation. Then they just realized through talking, I'm not that. I'm actually introverted.
mm,
And there is a conversation I've had 3 weeks ago where I was saying that the problem is that you get different things that influence who you are, your environment, your experiences, your nature, how you were born. And so if your parents, for example, are both introverts, they'll bring you up and push you to be more introverted, even though then later on in life you realize that actually I'm conditioned to be introvert when I'm actually more extroverted.
mm,
So, and then it's the other way around. Extroverted parents might bring up somebody trying to make them extroverted, and then they work so hard to please their parents. And later on, they discover that that's not my preference. I'm more of an introverted person. So
Wow.
there are all these layers that people go around with. As a coach, and you know, as we are coaches, our main thing is to say, you want to meet your best self. You want to become the best version of yourself. And let's explore that. Let's be open. Let's not put any barriers. Let's not put any definitions. As we go through that process, we will reveal who you are. And so I'll be excited if somebody said, "Oh, I'm extroverted. I'm a man. I want to work with you." I'll be like, "Sure, let's do it." See,
Let's do it. Let's discover it as well.
yeah.
And also, sometimes there are lots of expectations from, like you said, if your family is trying to push you in one direction, they would expect you to be in a way. And then it takes one powerful moment to say, hey, you know what? I'm actually ready to look at myself and know who
Mm.
I truly, truly am. And this is amazing. And so to everyone, introverts or extroverts watching this episode, please check out the description of this video to know how to connect with Patience, because she has an incredible amount of wisdom to share, so much love and kindness, and I invite you to connect with her. And so, as we're wrapping up this episode, Patience, what last thoughts would you like to share with everyone watching us?
I think first I would like to say, thank you for having me and helping me explore some of the answers to these questions. It's been exciting. But my thoughts will come from the conversation we've had, which is, and when we first said hello to each other and what's our principle, and it's the win-win approach to life. And it's one of the first books I read was that book by Steve Covey, and I recommend it highly. The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Steve Covey. And of course he wrote I think he updated it and said the 8th habit or something like that. Habits never end, do they? Well, but basically it's that win-win approach to life where you're looking at people and you're going, we all want to one up it against the other person, and move ahead. But what if we did a win-win approach to life? You win, I win, we will all win. And this is the key to the conflicts in the world, to the situations we have in the world, is how can we both win?
Mm.
If we can both win, if we can work hard. And what Steve Covey encourages, he says, if you have not yet reached that win-win for both of you, keep working. That means there's still work to do. You don't give
Mm.
up on it. I mean, not everybody will go for it, but if two people have agreed, we will work hard until we win together, then it's a big thing. So that's I guess is the key message here, is that by all means, you can compete, you can compare, but when you contrast as well, what do you bring to it so that you can both win? And I think that's the key thing. Just don't compete, just don't compare. Contrast and bring your flavor in for a win-win.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being here today and for sharing your messages with us. Thank you to everyone watching us. Don't forget to like this video, let us know your thoughts, and subscribe to this channel. Take care. Bye.
Bye.